Let's go to some of the news of the week now. And James Manning, we saw Nine acquire 50% of MI9 that it didn't own this week.
Yeah, Brooke, they're still on a bit of a spending spree pre the float. They've snapped up those Adelaide and Perth stations, took over 9 MSN, or MI9 was the trade name. It was about $90 million cash in the company, so it's a bit of a sweet deal. They didn't have to tip in too much more cash. Microsoft walks away with that. Close to $100 million, I think, out of that deal. Nine will lose all the Hotmail traffic, which is a big driver of eyeballs on the website, but they'll be able to really promote their catch-up viewing, all their content, a lot better than they have in the past.
Also, Seven West Media signed a new 6-year affiliation deal with Prime. Why so long?
I think it's because it's such a sweet deal for both of them, you know. Look, Seven's really killing it in the ratings. They've got an ad share north of 40%. So, look, it's a great deal for them to have a tried and tested partner out there selling all those ads.
Fairfax has axed the print version of BRW, so that was big news for the print world this week. Do you think the flagship content actually lives on? How do we see, the rich lists and those sorts of things progress from here?
It looks hard to imagine that rich list won't be turning up in the magazine again, will it? I think they did have a plan to just keep those sort of flagship editions, if you like, publish them maybe 6 times a year, but the board said, no, look, that just shows you how tough Fairfax is doing it in print at the moment. There's been speculation that this week the company's also looking at some other things. There was even a mention of the Sun Herald, their Sunday paper, or the Saturday edition of the Financial Review. But you just look at how thin some of those publications are becoming, how many pages don't have ads, gives you an idea of the climate they're working in.
James, the Commercial Radio Awards and Conference held last weekend. Any surprises there?
No, not really. Look, we sort of guessed last week who some of the big winners might have been. Kyle and Jackie O picked up the big best breakfast team award, if you like, on the FM band. Ross and John at 3RW down in Melbourne got the best AM award. Both those teams have won before. They've both been around for a long time. Some interesting stuff came up in the conference, including some of the owners talking about the frustration they're having with the PPCA and the streaming royalty rights sort of imbroglio, that there's an impasse at the moment where a lot of these radio stations are turning off their streaming, particularly in regional areas. So it's a problem that the industry needs to sort out pretty quickly.
Also some other news. DMG Radio settles on the new Melbourne breakfast team. This is Tommy and Meshel. 92.9 in Perth has a new breakfast show. That's Will and Woody.
Yeah, and a girl called Heidi's also joining them. She's just came off Big Brother. She was also working in Newcastle Radio. So Big Brother's still a happy hunting ground for radio talent scouts.
All right, let's have a look at some of the the tables for this week. We always do the TV ratings with you. Give us some of the highlights this week.
Sure, Brooke. Rugby League Grand Final, top of the chart. They did very well for Nine. Similar figures to what it's been doing the last few years. The X Factor's still up there. The Blacklist, Seven's Drama we mentioned last week. We see how it's backed up, and it did very well for them.
What about the top 10 sub-TV week, so everything kind of outside of commercials?
Sure. Look, Grand Designs Australia zipped straight back in at the top. It's the start of our new season, did very well for them. People love their real estate shows. Location Australia, still up there. And you see the A-League, the first weekend of the A-League, performed pretty well for Fox Sports.
Now, the other thing we should mention is that in TV this week we've had the results from 10, and we actually managed to catch up with the CEO, Hamish McLennan, so let's have a listen to that.
Look, I think what this reflects is that we had the wrong strategy, and it takes time to work out of an old strategy into a new one. So I arrived on March 18, we sold a new strategy to the board in early May that was validated by the board, and we're starting to implement it. I think you've really got to judge our performance based on what happens next year. The first major bit of programming that we were able to acquire was the Big Bash. That starts in late December. We have live sport over the summer period, which we've never had before, or we haven't in many years. And we're changing out of one strategy into a new one. 3 weeks after I launched, we announced the impairment charge of a considerable amount of money, and we don't take any of that lightly, but I don't think there are any real surprises with the numbers that we launched today.
And Hamish McLennan, the CEO of Channel 10, speaking at the SPA conference next month, James. Now, he's going to be interviewed by an employee, Russell Howcroft.
Yeah, well, he's going to be a busy boy that week because he's got his upfronts on in both Sydney and Melbourne, plus he's got to do the conference all in the space of 24 hours.
Yeah, OK. 10's unveiling the start date, it's unveiled the start date for the new weekly lineup, which is 5:30 a.m. right through to noon. What have we got?
Yep, look, Adam Boland's finally got his show.
Finally,
yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be on air. A little bit of a surprise. They're going to have news 5:30 a.m. for an hour, and then Studio 10 with Ita and colleagues will start from 8:30, go for 2.5 hours, including a sort of a special advertorial program in the last sort of 30 minutes of that time slot.
All right, November 4, watch out after that. And also FX launching the fourth season of The Walking Dead this week. Close to 200,000 watching that first episode, and record ratings in the United States.
Yeah, look, just over 16 million, which is amazing for a show not on broadcast TV over there. Looks like they did very well. The good news is if you have come to the show late, it's starting on SBS2 next month, and they're going to start from the first series, so you can watch it all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of Media Week, coming to you from the Foxtel MCN Upfront event in Sydney. Thanks for watching. More news and analysis coming up next.